My name is Emma. I'm 28 years old. I thought family was supposed to support you, until the day my sister handed me a dress code for her wedding, one that would cost me 3 months' salary. That's when I realized they only saw me as an embarrassment. But what they didn't know was that I owned the very ballroom where she planned to humiliate me. Growing up, I was always the practical sister. While Madison got dance lessons, designer clothes, and college fully paid for, I worked part-time jobs since I was 15. Our parents made it clear early on Maddie was the star, and I was there to make sure the star kept shining. "Emma, you're so responsible," Mom would say, which was code for, "Emma will handle the bills while we focus on Madison's dreams." And I did. I paid for groceries when Dad lost his job. I covered Madison's car insurance when she crashed her BMW. I even helped with the down payment on her apartment because family helps family, right? Madison landed a marketing job at a tech startup after college, thanks to connections I helped her make through my work in event planning. Within 2 years, she was engaged to Derek, whose family owned a chain of luxury hotels. Suddenly, our modest middle-class family was rubbing shoulders with millionaires. The engagement party was my first taste of what was coming. Madison barely acknowledged me while introducing Derek's family. "This is my sister Emma," she'd say dismissively. "She plans smaller events." The way she said it made my successful catering business sound like I organized birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese. But the real blow came 3 months before the wedding. Madison called a family meeting at our parents' house. I walked in to find her, Mom, Dad, and Derek's mother, Patricia, all sitting around the dining table with fabric samples and venue photos spread everywhere. "Emma, we need to talk about the wedding," Madison began, not even looking up from her phone. "Patricia has some concerns about the guest list." Patricia, dripping in jewelry that cost more than my car, smiled that fake smile rich people perfect. "It's nothing personal, dear. It's just that Derek's associates will be there. Important people. We need to maintain a certain standard." My stomach dropped. "What are you saying?" "We've decided you can come to the ceremony," Mom said carefully, "but the reception is really more for Derek's business connections." I stared at them. "You're uninviting me from my own sister's wedding reception?" "It's not uninviting," Madison snapped, finally looking at me. "It's just, look at you, Emma. Look at how you dress. Look at your car. Derek's father is bringing potential investors. We can't have them thinking we're..." She gestured vaguely at me. "Poor." I finished. "Less fortunate," Patricia corrected with that same fake smile. The room went silent. My parents wouldn't meet my eyes. My sister, the sister I'd supported, helped and sacrificed for, sat there nodding along. "I've built a successful business," I said quietly. "I employ 12 people. A catering business, Emma," Madison interrupted. "You serve food. That's not the same as Derek's import company or Patricia's art gallery. Besides," Mom added, trying to soften the blow, "you'll save money on a dress. Those bridesmaid dresses cost $800 each. $800. For a dress I'd wear once to watch my sister marry into money, while pretending I didn't exist." "Actually," Patricia said, pulling out a folder, "we did look into including you, but the venue has very strict dress codes for evening events. The women's attire starts at around $3,000. Hair and makeup another $1,000. Then there's the jewelry." She shrugged apologetically. $4,000 to $5,000. To attend my sister's wedding. "We thought about covering it," Dad said. "But with the wedding costs. Of course, they'd spent my inheritance, Grandma Rose's money that was supposed to be split between Madison and me, on this circus. The same grandmother who taught me everything about cooking and hospitality. The same grandmother whose recipes built my catering business." I stood up slowly. "Which venue?" "The Rosewood Ballroom," Madison said proudly. "It's the most exclusive in the city. Derek's family has connections there." "The Rosewood Ballroom." My chest tightened. "I see." I grabbed my purse. "Well, congratulations on your wedding. I hope it's everything you dreamed of." "Emma, don't be dramatic," Madison called as I headed for the door. "You can still come to the ceremony. It's at the church, so you don't need to dress up as much." I paused at the door. "Tell me something, Maddie. When you were struggling to make rent last year, and I loaned you $3,000, did you ever plan to pay me back?" She had the decency to look embarrassed. "Emma, we're family. Family doesn't keep score." "You're right," I said softly. "Family doesn't keep score. But apparently, family also doesn't include each other in the most important day of their lives." As I walked to my car, I heard Patricia say, "She'll get over it. These people always do." These people. As if I wasn't sitting right there. As if I wasn't the reason Madison could afford her apartment, her car, her life. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Grandma Rose had left me more than just recipes. The next few weeks were torture. Madison posted constantly on social media about her wedding preparations, tagging everyone except me. Photos of dress fittings, flower arrangements, cake tastings, all with captions like, "Can't wait to celebrate with my real family and friends." The comments made it worse. "Where's Emma? Isn't she in the wedding?" asked our cousin Sarah. Madison's response: "Emma's focusing on her little business right now. She's too busy to be involved." Women shrugging, too busy. As if I hadn't cleared my entire schedule hoping to help with wedding preparations. As if I hadn't been checking my phone daily waiting for her to change her mind. Then came the Facebook event invitation that broke my heart completely. Madison and Derek's wedding celebration. Sent to 200 people. Including my high school friends, my college roommates, even my ex-boyfriend Jake. Everyone except me. I screenshot the guest list. Extended family members I hadn't seen in years were invited. Derek's college friends who'd never met our family were invited. The mailman who delivered to Derek's office building was apparently invited. But not me. Not the sister who'd helped pay for her education. The final insult came 2 weeks before the wedding. Madison called, breathless with excitement. "Emma, you'll never guess what happened." Despite everything, my heart leaped. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she realized how horrible this was. Patricia got us featured in City Lifestyle magazine. They're doing a whole spread on the wedding. Local girl marries hotel heir. Can you believe it? That's great, Maddie. The photographer wants to do a family background piece. You know, showing Derek that I come from a loving, successful family. So I told them about how Dad managed that construction project downtown, and Mom's volunteer work at the museum. She hadn't mentioned me. Of course she hadn't. What about me? I asked, hating myself for hoping. Well, Madison's voice got careful. The thing is, they want to photograph Derek's family business and my family's achievements. Dad's construction work photographs well, and Mom's museum connections are impressive. But catering is just, it's service industry, Emma. It doesn't really fit the narrative. Service industry. Like I was slinging burgers instead of running a business that had catered events for judges, city council members, and yes, even some of Derek's hotel associates. I've catered 3 events at Derek's family hotels, I said quietly. The Roosevelt Hotel, the Grand Plaza, as a vendor, Emma. Not as a guest. There's a difference. A vendor. That's all I was to them now. Besides, she continued, the magazine photographer said the story works better with the hardworking family supports daughter's dreams angle. You know, showing how Mom and Dad sacrificed so I could succeed. Sacrificed. They'd sacrificed my college fund for her sorority fees. They'd sacrificed my graduation party for her engagement party. And now they were sacrificing my relationship with my sister for her magazine spread. "I have to go," I whispered. "Wait. I need to ask you something. Derek's mom wants to make sure there won't be any drama at the ceremony. You're not planning to make a scene, are you? Because if you're going to be bitter about the reception thing." "Drama." I laughed, but it came out broken. "Madison, I've never made a scene in my life. I've quietly supported you through everything. When you needed money, I gave it. When you needed connections, I made calls. When you needed someone to listen to you complain about Derek's ex-girlfriend for 3 hours, I was there. I know, but what? But I might embarrass you by existing? But I might remind Derek's family that his new wife has a sister who works for a living." "Emma, you're being dramatic again." Dramatic. There was that word. Anytime I had feelings, anytime I stood up for myself, I was being dramatic. "You know what, Madison? Don't worry about drama at the ceremony. I won't be there." "What do you mean?" "I mean I'm not coming. To the ceremony or anywhere else. You want to pretend I don't exist? Congratulations. Your wish is granted. Emma, you can't miss my wedding. Watch me." I hung up. Within an hour, my phone was buzzing with calls from Mom, Dad, even Patricia. The messages were all the same. Don't ruin Madison's special day. Be the bigger person. Family forgives. But the one that broke me came from Dad. "Emma, sweetie, you know we love you. But Madison only gets one wedding day. Please don't make this about you. Make this about me." As if wanting to celebrate my sister's marriage was selfish. As if asking to be treated like family was asking too much. That night, I sat in my empty apartment looking at photos from when we were kids. Madison and me building forts, sharing secrets, promising we'd always be best friends. I guess some promises are meant to be broken. But they had no idea what they'd just awakened. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went to my office early and pulled out a file I'd been avoiding, the inheritance documents from Grandma Rose's estate. After Grandma died 3 years ago, the lawyer had explained everything in legal terms that made my head spin. I knew she'd left Madison and me some money, the money my parents had borrowed for wedding expenses. But there were other documents, business papers I'd signed without fully understanding. Your grandmother was a very smart woman, Mr. Peterson, her lawyer had said. She structured her investments carefully. Very carefully. I'd been so buried in grief and trying to keep my catering business afloat that I just signed everything and filed it away. Now, sitting in my office with Madison's words echoing in my head, service industry, vendor, these people, I spread the papers across my desk. Property deed, investment portfolio, business acquisition documents. Wait! I picked up a document with the letterhead, Rosewood Entertainment Group. My hands started shaking as I read, transfer of ownership, Rosewood Ballroom and associated properties to Emma Catherine Morrison for the terms of the Rose Morrison Estate Trust. I read it again. Then again. I owned the Rosewood Ballroom. My phone was ringing before I even realized I dialed Mr. Peterson's number. Emma, I was wondering when you'd call about the properties. Properties? Plural. Oh my dear, didn't you review the portfolio? Your grandmother owned several commercial properties around the city. The ballroom was her crown jewel, but there's also the art gallery on 5th Street, 2 restaurant spaces downtown, and a small office building. The art gallery on 5th Street. Patricia's Art Gallery. Mr. Peterson, I need you to explain everything. Slowly. For the next hour, he walked me through Grandma Rose's empire. She'd been quietly buying commercial real estate for 40 years, starting with the small restaurant where she'd worked as a young woman. The Rosewood Ballroom was her final purchase. She bought it 5 years ago when the previous owners faced bankruptcy. She was very specific about keeping it quiet, he explained. She wanted you to finish building your own business first. Let Emma prove herself, she said. Then she'll understand what real power looks like. Real power. Not the flashy, show-off wealth that Madison and Derek's family flaunted. Quiet power. The power to control the spaces where their games were played. There's something else, Mr. Peterson continued. Your grandmother's trust included a clause about your parents borrowing. She knew they'd taken money meant for you. The loan is documented, and it's technically due in full if they use it for frivolous expenses rather than genuine need. What constitutes frivolous? A $200,000 wedding for one child while excluding the other might qualify. I sat back in my chair, the weight of realization settling over me. Madison's perfect wedding, designed to exclude and humiliate me, was happening in a building I owned. Patricia's snobbery was being displayed in a gallery that paid me rent. Derek's family's connections at the Rosewood were actually connections to my employee. But there was more. Emma, there's one other thing your grandmother arranged. She was quite fond of dramatic timing. What do you mean? The trust stipulates that on the 3-year anniversary of her death, which is next Saturday, your sister's wedding day, you gain full access to make any changes to the properties. New management, new policies, new everything. Next Saturday, Madison's wedding day. Mr. Peterson, I need to know everything about the Rosewood's current management structure. I'll have the files sent over within the hour. But Emma, your grandmother left one more thing. A letter. She said to give it to you when you discovered what she'd really left you. 20 minutes later, I was holding an envelope with my name written in Grandma's careful handwriting. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means you've finally learned the truth about what I built and what I'm leaving you. I watched your parents favor Madison your entire life. I watched you work twice as hard for half the recognition. I watched you give and give while others took and took. I also watched you build something beautiful with your catering business. You learned hospitality from me, but you learned strength from necessity. That combination is rare and precious. The properties I'm leaving you aren't just investments, sweetheart. They're tools. Use them wisely. Use them justly. And when the time comes, and you'll know when it comes, don't let anyone treat you like you're less than you are. You are not service industry, Emma. You are not these people. You are my granddaughter, and you are exactly as powerful as you choose to be. The Rosewood has a private owner's suite on the 3rd floor. The elevator key is in the safe. Combination is your birthday. I think you'll find the view of the ballroom quite interesting. All my love and faith in you, Grandma Rose. P.S. I never liked Patricia anyway. Her rent is due the 1st of every month. I laughed through my tears. Even from beyond the grave, Grandma Rose was looking out for me. By evening, I had read every document, every contract, every lease agreement. I knew the Rosewood staff, their schedules, their protocols. I knew that Patricia's gallery lease was up for renewal next month. I knew that Derek's family had been trying to buy the Rosewood for 2 years. Most importantly, I knew that Madison's wedding was 6 days away. And I knew exactly what I needed to do. Monday morning, I stood outside the Rosewood Ballroom for the first time as its owner. The building was even more beautiful than I remembered from the few events I'd attended here as a guest. Cream stone facade, Art Deco details, and windows that sparkled in the morning sun. Mine. All mine. I walked through the staff entrance, my new master key feeling heavy in my hand. The manager, James Mitchell, was in his office reviewing weekend receipts. Ms. Morrison? He looked up, surprised. Are you here for a consultation? I thought your sister's wedding was fully planned already. Actually, James, I need to speak with you about something else entirely. I placed the ownership documents on his desk. As of Saturday, I'll be taking active ownership of the Rosewood. His eyes widened as he read. You're Emma Morrison? Rose Morrison's granddaughter. I am. He shook his head in amazement. Rose spoke about you constantly. She was so proud of your business. She said you understood hospitality in your bones. She taught me well. I sat down across from him. James, I need to understand everything about Saturday's event. Every detail. For the next hour, James walked me through Madison's wedding plans. The ceremony was at St. Mary's at 4 p.m., followed by cocktails at the Rosewood at 6 p.m., dinner at 7 p.m., and dancing until midnight. 200 guests, 5-course dinner, open bar, live band, photographer, videographer. It's one of our most elaborate events this year, James said. The Morrison family spared no expense. The Morrison family. My family? Paying a fortune to celebrate in my building while refusing to invite me. What about the final guest list? James pulled out a tablet and scrolled through names. 200 confirmed. Quite a prestigious group, several city council members, the mayor's wife, Derek's business associates, society page regulars. I scanned the list. Every important person Madison had ever wanted to impress. Every connection she thought would elevate her status. My high school friends were there. My college professors were there. Even Mrs. Chin from the corner market was invited. I wasn't. James, I need you to understand something. This wedding has caused a significant rift in my family. I've been excluded from the celebration entirely. His face fell. Oh, Ms. Morrison. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. It's not your fault. But I need to know, what are my rights as owner regarding events already booked? Well, legally you have full authority over the venue. But we've never had to cancel a wedding before. The deposit alone was $50,000. $50,000. More than many people made in a year spent on one party that I wasn't allowed to attend. I'm not planning to cancel it, James. But I am planning to attend. Of course. I'll have your name added to the list immediately. No. I smiled, feeling Grandma Rose's mischievous spirit. I have a different plan. I spent the next 3 days at the Rosewood, learning every detail of its operation. The kitchen staff knew me from my catering work. Several had even worked my events. The waitstaff respected my business reputation. The maintenance crew appreciated that I remembered their names and asked about their families. By Wednesday, everyone knew who I really was. And everyone was quietly, professionally outraged on my behalf. Your own sister? Maria, the head server, shook her head. Mija, family is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down. We've got your back, boss, said Tommy from security. Whatever you need. I also made some strategic phone calls. First, to my lawyer, confirming my rights as property owner. Second, to Derek's father's business partner, someone I'd catered several events for who didn't know about the family drama. Emma, how wonderful to hear from you. Derek's getting married this weekend, isn't he? He is. At the Rosewood Ballroom. We've been trying to buy that property for years. Beautiful venue. Do you know the owner? Actually, I do. Quite well. Third, I called the City Lifestyle magazine photographer. Ms. Morrison? I wasn't expecting to hear from you. Your sister said you weren't involved in the wedding. I wasn't involved in the planning. But I'm very involved in the venue. Oh, are you doing the catering? Something like that. Thursday, I visited Grandma Rose's grave for the first time since the funeral. I told her about Madison, about the humiliation, about the discovery. I told her about my plan. I hope you approve, Grandma. I'm trying to handle this with class the way you would have. But I'm also not going to let them walk all over me anymore. The wind rustled through the oak tree above her headstone, and I swear I could hear her laughing. Friday, the day before the wedding, I spent hours in the owner's suite that Grandma had mentioned. It was gorgeous, a private apartment on the 3rd floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the main ballroom. From here, I could see everything without being seen. I also made my final preparations. Hair appointment at 2 p.m. Makeup at 4 p.m. The dress I'd chosen was perfect, elegant, sophisticated, and expensive enough to meet even Patricia's standards. My jewelry was Grandma Rose's diamonds and sapphires that had been in our family for 3 generations. I looked like money. Old money. Real money. That evening, James knocked on the suite door. Everything's ready for tomorrow, Ms. Morrison. The staff knows the plan. Are you sure about this? I looked down at the ballroom where workers were setting up Madison's dream wedding. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, gold accents. 200 seats for everyone who mattered to her. Everyone except me. I'm sure, James. It's time my family learned that actions have consequences. And if they cause a scene? I smiled, touching Grandma's sapphire necklace. Then they'll cause a scene in my building in front of my staff with my security team watching. Let them try. Tomorrow was Madison's wedding day. The day she planned to celebrate her new life while erasing me from the old one. She had no idea that her perfect day was about to become my moment of truth. The stage was set. The players were in position. And the owner was finally coming home. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly, but by afternoon the sun broke through just as Madison had prayed it would. I watched from my suite as the florists made final adjustments in the catering staff, not mine, I noted with amusement, arranged the cocktail tables. At 5:30 p.m., the first guests began arriving. I recognized faces from the guest list. Derek's business associates, Madison's college friends, distant relatives who'd driven hours to attend. Everyone chatting and laughing, excited to witness my sister's fairy tale wedding. At 5:45, the wedding party arrived from the church ceremony. Madison looked stunning in her $8,000 designer gown, Derek handsome in his custom tuxedo. Mom and Dad beamed with pride as photographers captured their entrance. Patricia swept in wearing a glittering silver gown that probably cost more than my car. She air-kissed several guests, clearly in her element as mother of the groom. I checked my reflection one more time. The navy blue dress I'd chosen was sophisticated without being flashy, exactly the kind of understated elegance that screamed old money. Grandma's sapphires caught the light beautifully. My hair was styled in a classic chignon, my makeup flawless but natural. I looked like I belonged in this world. Because I did. At 6:15, I made my way down to the service elevator, my heart pounding but my resolve steady. James met me in the back corridor. They're all here, Ms. Morrison. Are you ready? I'm ready. I walked through the kitchen, where my staff, because they were my staff now, nodded respectfully. Maria squeezed my hand as I passed. Knock, am dead, boss. The cocktail hour was in full swing when I entered through the main ballroom doors. For a moment, no one noticed me. I was just another elegantly dressed woman joining the celebration. Then I saw my cousin Sarah near the bar. Her face lit up when she spotted me. Emma. Oh my God, you look amazing. I was wondering why you weren't at the ceremony. Madison said you were too busy with work. Her voice carried across the room. Heads turned. Conversations slowed. Madison, who'd been posing for photos with Derek's grandmother, went pale when she saw me. Emma. Mom's voice cracked with shock. What are you doing here? The question rippled through the crowd. What was I doing here? At my own sister's wedding that I'd been banned from attending? Hello, Mom. I kissed her cheek gracefully the way I'd seen Patricia do with her friends. You look beautiful. The venue is lovely, isn't it? You can't be here, Madison whispered, breaking away from the photographer. We talked about this. Did we? I smiled serenely. I don't recall agreeing to anything. Derek appeared at Madison's side, confused. What's going on? This is my sister, Emma, Madison said through gritted teeth. She wasn't invited to the reception. A hush fell over the nearby guests. Not invited to her own sister's reception? The society crowd loved drama, but this was awkward even for them. There must be some mistake, Derek said diplomatically. Of course you're welcome. No mistake, Patricia interrupted, gliding over with ice in her voice. This is a private event. Security should escort her out. Security. She wanted to have me thrown out of my own building. That might be difficult, I said calmly. Excuse me. Before I could answer, James appeared at my elbow. Perfect timing. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, he announced to the room in his professional manager's voice. I need to make a brief announcement about tonight's celebration. The entire ballroom quieted. 200 faces turned toward us. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Rosewood Ballroom for this beautiful wedding celebration. As many of you know, the Rosewood has been family-owned for several years by the Rose Morrison estate. I saw Madison's face change as she registered the name. Morrison. Our grandmother's name. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing the Rosewood's owner, who has chosen to join us for this special occasion. James gestured toward me with a respectful bow. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Emma Morrison. The silence was deafening. Then the whisper started. Did he say owner? Morrison. Isn't that the bride's name? The sister owns the venue? Patricia was the first to recover. That's impossible. This venue costs $4,000 for tonight's rental, I finished. Plus catering minimums, service charges, and the premium Saturday night rate. Quite reasonable for a venue of this caliber, don't you think? Derek's father pushed through the crowd. His face red with confusion and anger. What kind of game is this? We've been trying to buy this property for 2 years. And you've been dealing with my property management company. They handle day-to-day operations. I smiled. I prefer to stay behind the scenes. Usually. Madison was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Emma, what is happening? This is impossible. You're just a caterer. I'm a business owner, Madison. Several businesses, actually. I gestured around the ballroom. This is one of them. You're lying, she whispered. I pulled out my phone and pressed James's number. His phone rang immediately in his pocket. James, could you please show these guests the ownership documentation? Of course, Ms. Morrison. As James left to retrieve the papers, I turned to face my family. Mom and Dad looked stunned. Madison looked terrified. Patricia looked like she'd swallowed glass. You see, Grandma Rose left me quite a bit more than anyone realized. This ballroom, the art gallery where Patricia displays her work. I nodded to her. Several other properties around the city. She was very strategic about her investments. The art gallery? Patricia's voice was barely a whisper. $500 a month rent, due the first of every month. You've been a reliable tenant. The crowd was eating this up. Nothing like family drama at a high society wedding. Derek's business partner, the one I'd catered events for, stepped forward with a huge grin. Emma Morrison. I should have connected the dots. You're Rose Morrison's granddaughter. She talked about you constantly at the Chamber of Commerce meetings. She did. Oh yes. My Emma, she'd say. She's going to surprise everyone someday. He chuckled. I think someday is today. Madison found her voice. This doesn't change anything. You still weren't invited. This is still my wedding. You're absolutely right, I said graciously. This is your wedding. In my ballroom, which you rented without knowing who owned it. After uninviting me because I wasn't successful enough for your guest list. The irony hung in the air like expensive perfume. I believe, I continued. Someone mentioned that I don't fit the narrative because I'm service industry? Patricia actually flinched. The beautiful thing about owning the service, I said with Grandma Rose's smile, is that you understand its true value. James returned with the ownership documents. Derek's father examined them, his face growing redder by the minute. These are legitimate, he announced to the room. And that's when Madison finally exploded. You did this on purpose, she screamed. You planned this whole thing. I plan to attend my sister's wedding, I replied calmly. Everything else is just consequences. The ballroom erupted in whispers and shocked murmurs as Madison's accusation hung in the air. But I remained calm, channeling every lesson Grandma Rose had taught me about grace under pressure. You're right, Madison, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. I did plan this. I planned to show up for my sister's wedding, even after being told I wasn't good enough to attend. That's not what we said, Mom started. Isn't it? I turned to address the room, my voice carrying clearly. Let me share what happened with all of you. Since we're being so transparent tonight. The crowd pressed closer. Society people loved nothing more than witnessing a spectacular family implosion. 3 months ago, I was uninvited from this reception because my appearance might embarrass the bride in front of Derek's business associates. Apparently, my successful catering company made me service industry. Not quite the right class of people for this celebration. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Several of Derek's business associates looked uncomfortable. They'd hired my company multiple times. I was told that the dress code alone would cost me $5,000. Money that would be better spent elsewhere since I clearly didn't understand high society standards. Patricia's face was ashen. Several guests were now staring at her with undisguised judgment. My parents explained that they'd spent my inheritance from Grandma Rose on wedding expenses, so they couldn't help with my wardrobe. I smiled sadly. I was invited to the ceremony only, to watch from the cheap seats while everyone who mattered to Madison celebrated here afterward. Emma, please, Dad tried to interrupt. The final insult came when Madison told City Lifestyle magazine that her family's story worked better without mentioning me. Apparently, having a sister in food service didn't fit the narrative of her rise to high society. I could see phones coming out now. This drama was definitely making it to social media. But here's what none of you understood. I continued, my voice growing stronger. Grandma Rose didn't just leave me recipes and a small inheritance. She left me an empire. This ballroom, the art gallery, multiple properties across the city. She built it quietly, carefully over 40 years. Derek's father stepped forward, his business instincts kicking in despite the family drama. Ms. Morrison, if you're interested in selling. I'm not. I cut him off firmly. But I am interested in running my properties according to my values. Properties that welcome families. All families. Including the ones that work in service industry. I turned back to Madison, who was crying now, her perfect makeup running down her cheeks. You wanted me to disappear tonight, Maddie. You got your magazine spread, your society connections, your fairy tale wedding. The only thing you didn't get was a sister who would quietly disappear when she became inconvenient. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. My voice was gentle but firm. You meant every word. You've been embarrassed by me our entire lives. Tonight was just the first time you had the power to do something about it. The crowd was dead silent now, watching this family implode in real time. Patricia, I turned to Derek's mother. You mentioned maintaining standards at this event. You were concerned about having these people here. I assume by these people, you meant working-class individuals who might not meet your definition of proper society. She couldn't meet my eyes. The interesting thing about standards, I continued, is that they work both ways. For instance, the standard lease agreement for the art gallery requires 30 days notice for any policy changes. Effective immediately, the gallery will be showcasing local artists from all backgrounds, including those wonderful service industry, people who create beautiful art in their spare time. Patricia went white as a sheet. And Derek, I turned to my new brother-in-law, who'd been silent through this entire exchange. Your family's offers to purchase the rosewood have been generous, but I've decided to keep it in the family. My family. The one that understands what real hospitality means. Derek's father was practically vibrating with frustration. This is ridiculous. A catering business owner can't possibly understand the complexities of managing a property like this. You're right, I interrupted. A catering business owner probably couldn't. But the granddaughter of Rose Morrison, who learned business strategy at her knee while everyone else thought she was just teaching me to cook. She understands perfectly. I gestured around the ballroom. Every detail of tonight was planned by people who know what they're doing. My staff, my vendors, my venue. We just didn't advertise who was really in charge. James stepped forward with perfect timing. Ms. Morrison, the evening timeline is yours to approve. Shall we proceed with dinner service as scheduled? The power in that moment was intoxicating. 200 guests, including some of the most influential people in the city, waiting for my decision about whether my sister's wedding reception would continue. Madison looked at me with desperate eyes. Emma, please, don't ruin my wedding. I'm not ruining anything, Madison. I'm just attending, like any sister would. I turned to address the room one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy this beautiful celebration of love and family. Dinner will be served shortly. And remember, I smiled with pure joy. The Rosewood Ballroom welcomes all families, even the complicated ones. The crowd burst into applause. Someone actually shouted, "Brava!" Several guests immediately approached me, clearly wanting to be on the good side of the venue owner they just discovered. But the sweetest moment came when my cousin Sarah hugged me tightly and whispered, "Grandma Rose would be so proud." Madison and Derek's perfect society wedding continued, but now everyone knew exactly who held the real power in the room. And for the first time in my life, my family had to face the consequences of underestimating me. The little sister who wasn't good enough for the reception had just become the most important person at the party. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my office at the Rosewood, reviewing applications for our new community arts program. The morning sun streams through the windows of what used to be a secret, and I can hear the construction crew working on the building's affordable event space addition. Madison and I talk now. Not like we used to. That relationship died the night she tried to erase me from her wedding. But we're building something new, something more honest. She apologized eventually. A real apology, not the performative kind she gave at the wedding when she realized I held all the cards. I was so caught up in becoming someone I thought I should be. She told me over coffee last month. I forgot who I actually was. I forgot that you were the one who helped me become anything at all. Derek, surprisingly, turned out to be decent once he was away from his family's influence. He hired my catering company for 3 hotel events, and he's never once mentioned buying the Rosewood. Patricia and I maintain a coldly professional relationship. She pays her rent on time, and I don't raise it more than legally allowed. Mom and Dad took longer to come around. The hardest conversation came when I had to explain that the money they'd borrowed from my inheritance was actually a documented loan that was now due in full. We worked out a payment plan that requires them to acknowledge what they took and apologize for how they treated me. We always knew you were strong, Dad said during one of our uncomfortable family dinners. We just didn't realize we were taking advantage of that strength. The Rosewood has become everything Grandma Rose envisioned. We host society weddings and quinceañeras with equal elegance. Corporate events and family reunions get the same attention to detail. Last month, we donated the space for a wedding for a young couple who couldn't afford our usual rates. A teacher and a social worker who reminded me that love doesn't require a trust fund. My catering business has tripled in size, partly because of the Rosewood connections, but mostly because word spread about what happened at Madison's wedding. Apparently, standing up to bullies is good for business. Who knew? The art gallery now features a rotating exhibit of work by local artists, including several who work in restaurants, hotels, and other service industry jobs. Patricia hates it, but the community loves it, and that's what matters. I've learned that real power isn't about humiliating people or getting revenge. It's about creating spaces where everyone can belong, where families can celebrate together regardless of their bank account balance, where hard work is valued over inherited wealth. Grandma Rose left me more than properties and money. She left me a lesson about quiet strength, about building something meaningful while others chase status symbols. I'm not the same person who walked into that family meeting 6 months ago, desperate for their approval. I'm someone who creates approval for others, who opens doors instead of slamming them shut. And I've never been happier. Looking back on that night, I realized the most important moment wasn't when I revealed I owned the ballroom. It wasn't even when I confronted my family about their treatment of me. The most important moment was when I decided I was worthy of respect, regardless of whether they gave it to me. Family relationships are complicated, and money can make them even more so. But at the end of the day, how people treat you when they think you have no power tells you everything you need to know about their character. My sister learned that true class isn't about designer dresses or exclusive venues, it's about how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally are the ones who put the most conditions on their love. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to stop trying to earn what should have been freely given. I'd love to know, which part of this story surprised you the most? Was it the inheritance reveal, the confrontation at the wedding, or something else entirely? Drop a comment below and let me know what you thought. And if you enjoyed this story of family drama and ultimate justice, please subscribe for more real-life stories that prove truth really is stranger than fiction. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.